Now, I'll start with the purpose of creation of Pakistan. It is the desire of the people to live according to their beliefs and values. And state provides you the means to achieve that desire. So that was the basic ideology on which Pakistan was created. Then we homed on to the vital national interests that we have. That was to ensure territorial integrity. Number two, to ensure sovereignty and political independence, and work for the socio-economic welfare of the people. So I just want to give you that premise that this was. Now, based on that, when few students asked a question from Qaid Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah in February 1948 as to what would be your basic fundamentals for your foreign policy, and he counted 4 or 5. First of all, he said, and I would like to, that is good relations with every country, and especially superpowers and neighbors. He mentioned it, neighbors, including India, we would like to have best relations. Second was no aggressive designs against any other country. And third is follow the United Nations Charter, because you will be the members and we must follow that. And then there will be honesty and fair play in the international relations. And then last but not the least, he said that we will stand by the oppressed and suppressed nations, wherever, whether Muslims or non-Muslims, anywhere in the world, because this is part of the UN Charter, where there is oppression or suppression, we will stand with the oppressed and suppressed. Now, based on that, Pakistan's foreign policy is made, and even today, these are the principles. I just want to remove any doubt if there are in people's mind, that Pakistan has no aggressive designs. We want best of the relations, and with all superpowers, that is United States of America, Russia, China, European Union, and the neighbors, especially India and Afghanistan, Iraq, and all that. And that is the basis on which we are working. But presently in our perception, we feel that United States of America is no doubt today is the single single superpower which is militarily and also economically very strong, and they will stay in this mode for quite some time. So therefore we can't afford to spoil our relations with them, but we want to deal with them with dignity, with honor, as an independent, sovereign nation. Secondly, we feel that the economic center of gravity of the world is gradually slipping from west to east, and obviously China has come up as the second strongest economy in the world. Third, we are seeing Russian in that mode of defiance, especially what is happening in Eurasia. Similarly, Iran is being pushed to a corner, Middle East is in flames, and South Asia again has problems and all that. Now, based on this, we feel that there are 4 flashpoints in the world. One is, as I said, Eurasia, which have the seeds of a world war. Eurasia. Number 2 is South China Sea. Number 3 is Middle East, including Palestine and all what is happening with Iraqis and with Syrians and Libyans and everywhere. And last but not the least is South Asia. And in South Asia, the flashpoint is not Afghanistan, it is Kashmir, in our perception, because that is the dispute between the 2 superpowers, which are both 2 powers which both are nuclear powers. So I was really surprised, and people in Pakistan too, when America gave their South Asian policy, and in that they talked only of Afghanistan and do more and everything, and threatening Pakistan using a humiliating language, and not saying a word about Kashmir, where there are human rights violations, where they know there is 700,000 strong army on those people. They know this is an unfinished agenda, and the entire world knows that there are UN resolutions which need to be implemented. Now, based on that, as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was in the Senate also. I highlighted these points and I said that there are certain points on which Pakistan and United States of America are pole apart. Our interests don't converge on 3-4 points that I will highlight here. One is the American Secretary of State went to Saudi Arabia. He called the Prime Minister of Iraq. He had a meeting with the Qatari leaders and all that, and it was working against Iran. We say that for Iran's isolation, we are not on board, because they are our neighbors and we don't want. We are for rapprochement within the Muslim world and with those people, with them who have sort of different viewpoint. Second is that Chinese contained country, and it has its own rights to do. Although Chinese follow a policy of peaceful coexistence, and they are this CPAC and OBOR, they are all to sort of integrate economically the countries of the third world mostly. Globalization, which was propagated by the West, was only for superpowers and rich countries to take benefit. But I think OBOR is a globalization step which is for the countries which deserve that, and they are developing countries. So on that account, then, these are the points on which. Secondly, we can't cooperate on CPAC is for our economic survival. CPAC is an economic, it's a concept, it is not a project. And in that, Pakistan since needed energy, Pakistan needs to boost up its economy, so therefore we are for it and we're not going to go back, come what may. And last point on which we cannot really accept is drone attacks in the vicinity of these sovereign countries. In Afghanistan, there are drone attacks because Afghanistan is under occupation. There are foreign forces. We don't know. It is up to them to decide. But there again, when there is a collateral damage, that is objectionable. And drone attacks in Pakistan, we have said it very clearly that this is against our sovereignty. If there is a high-value target, share intelligence with us, like we cooperated in arresting, in getting those people liberated, the American and the Canadian family very recently. We said, share intelligence with us. We will operate within the bounds of our own country and will not. Now, areas where we can cooperate, again, there are 3 big areas. One is peace process in Afghanistan. Pakistan is all out, whatever help which is within our capability, we are ready to give. But you have to trust us, and we are doing our best. On one hand, it is an American demand that you should get in touch with Afghan Taliban and make them sit on the table so that we could discuss. On the other hand, they say you have links with them and therefore they blame us. Now these two things cannot work together. Of course, linkages would be there because we are living in that area, they are our immediate neighbor, and the intelligence agencies have linkages with everybody. Number 2, we will not allow our soil to be used by any militant group. If there are sanctuaries, we have told the Americans, please pinpoint, share intelligence, and we will take action. As far as we are concerned, there will be individual infiltrators here and there. They can come even to Europe and United States of America. They would be there. We have a porous border. Western border is 2,611 kilometers. And out of that, we have about 975 posts which are defending, which are sort of monitoring that, not defending. And on the Afghani side, there are only 217. And believe me, there is an area of 600 kilometers on which there is no post on the Afghani side. They are out of 34 provinces of Afghanistan, 11 are bordering Pakistan, and they are no-go areas. Kunnad, Nuristan, Nangarhar, Paktiya, Paktika, Khost, and name them. And these are the dens of these terrorists. So when you tell us that there are sanctuaries, I think sanctuaries are there. because they go and attack in Afghanistan and they come and attack in Pakistan. So that has been made clear. So we said in Afghanistan peace process we're ready to cooperate. In Pakistan we will go after the terrorists. We have cleansed and cleared an area of tribal belt which even the British colonial power could not do. They dare not enter that area. Our armies have entered and we have paid the price. From a Sipahi to a Lieutenant General, they have laid their lives there. And 70,000, as I said in the morning when I was giving the background, we said. Those are the two things. Third thing on which we can cooperate is border management. We said, please, if we seal them from one side and if you don't do anything from that side, it will not be effective sealing. We are making posts, we are making fortresses on the border. We are fencing it about 2,000 kilometers, and we are also raising paramilitary forces, about 73 wings, which are 73 battalions, and that costs money. Pakistan is not a rich country, but we say it will be effective if from your side, because neither the Afghan forces, security forces come close to border, neither the Americans get out of those bases and come up and face. So therefore those people are there and they create a problem. Now certain areas we said you asked us to do more. We expect from the Americans to also do something. These are the must-do points, few points that are written. I will just share it with you, and that would be all. One, we have requested them that you should kindly help Afghan government to establish a RID in the entire Afghanistan, because that is creating problem for us also. Those 11 provinces that I have quoted. Number two, we have asked them that hand over the TTP militants who are there, like Fazlullah and all, who come and kill people in Pakistan. They attack schools and they create problems and then they run away. And there is nobody to really get hold of them. So we've given them a list to do that. Third is, we are saying that we cannot expect India getting an expanded role in Afghanistan. On account of developmental projects, we have no objection. I think India must invest. They are making roads and their embassy, different buildings and transmission lines, we have no. But when Afghan soil is used for proxy war within Pakistan, that is not acceptable, and we have proofs and we have given that to the United Nations. Third, we have, fourth, we have said that you are arming India and we have a problem of Kashmir with them. And they say that we need arms to contain China. But actually, they're all mechanized formations. They're all strike corps. They are 70% concentrated against Pakistani borders. And then they say, we will have a cold start doctrine. That means before the army, Pakistan army moves, will go sever them, and we will destroy them. Now, this is what, if that is their aim, we tell them that this is arms race. In South Asia, nuclear arms race was started by India, 1974. The missile race was started by them, and we suggested to them, we sit together and we solve this Kashmir issue peacefully, because militarily we cannot do that. And I think we can sit together and get a solution which is acceptable to you, to us, and to the Kashmiris, and that is even that we maintain today. We even suggested that South Asia should be declared as a nuclear-free zone. That was not accepted. So on that account too, we tell the American friends that when you give them, we ask them, give us 8 F-16s we are using against the terrorists, because it's a precision guiding. They refused. But to the Indians,
I'm sorry for basically, but we are well into Q&A territory.
Okay, just a few minutes.
Please.
And we, then now they are transferring the technology F-16 to India, giving them drones, etc. So that creates a problem for Pakistan. Then we are saying that facilitate repatriation of 3.5 million Afghan refugees which are in Afghanistan, Pakistan for the last 30 years. They are neither United Nations nor the Western powers are looking after that. So therefore, and under the garb of those refugees, then you get the militants. And we don't know. And that is what the foreign minister said. Please get them back. And then we will make sure that there is no terrorist around here. And the last point that I would like to give is that kindly, when you are concentrating on Afghanistan peace, also concentrate on the solution of Kashmir problem. If you give a South Asian policy and don't mention anything about Kashmir, you are not interested in peace. If we want peace, we should bring in, we should consider the plight of the Kashmiris, and that is all long term. 9/11 happened because of the American policies in Middle East, but the reply was not the rectification of that foreign policy, but an attack on Afghanistan, then weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and then that system is continuing. So therefore, people should understand they should become now part of the solution because they were part of the problems. Thank you.
Thank you.